Three, two, one, and we're
Okay, so
live.
you're able to see the live chat over there.
Yeah, you see how it cuts off there? Welcome to Live, Guard Your Pride Community Guide, learn more.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. All right. So we were talking about trying to find something to talk about. I just want to come and check in and say hello.
Yeah, I figured I was basically saying that I didn't know what to talk about. I'm one who, um, frankly, if I don't have anything to talk about, I don't. I see people like coming up all the time, all day long. I'm like,
That's
really?
me. I
Yeah.
just come, I just bullshit, just
Right.
blah, 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 blah. I ain't talking about nothing.
Right. I don't come up here unless I
You're
have
not supposed to
something.
say right. You're supposed to say that's not you, baby.
That's not you, baby. I don't come up here unless I have something to say. So, not all the time,
I
but a lot of
feel,
the time.
I was saying I felt kind of sad yesterday in a way when I looked at your channel. And this is not, I don't think this is your forte. But I think that your voice, I like your voice. You have a powerful voice. But I think that one of the things that I always enjoyed about your channel was the little skits in the front, the editing, your expressions. And I like the podcast, but I feel like I'm missing like you know what I mean?
Right.
So, hey, Black Fist.
Peace, Black Fist.
Peace, Black
Who just
Fist.
came in?
Love like the
I don't have my
sun.
glasses on. Peace.
Good. You know, it's something wrong with this chat thing, so I can't quite.
So you can't see the whole thing.
But is there a way to move it someplace else? But anyway,
I'll try that while you're talking.
so I just really wanted to come on your channel. I just dropped something on my channel having to do with tarot. But see, it's cut off right here.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
hey, husband. Good seeing y'all.
That's a little better.
Is it better?
So yeah, we have to look here and then look over there. But
well, we'll split it. I'll look here and you look there,
right,
and then
fine.
we'll have
good
shifts.
I'm cockeyed, so I can do both
anyway. Or I was gonna say we could have shifts. And you could look there and I could look there. Right. Lady is so having issues with my device. Listen later, buffering like crazy. We'll see you. You like my shirt? Doaya Media controlling our narrative. They can't see your fist, baby. It's under your arm.
Well, that's all right.
This is the
shirt. That says UP,
but like unapologetically pro-black, the magazine.
Right. So anyway.
We're branded today, not like with a hot poker or anything, but just like with, the brand.
Right. But we were talking, and actually, we had the conversation.
I'm gonna make you hot laying on you.
No, it's fine. We have the conversation all the time, of course, about separating. I'm gonna be looking from there to there. So, the conversation all the time about separating, and also about the way that we seem to frame it. Our people seem to frame it. And one of the problems that I see, I'm jumping right into it. One of the problems as I see it is that every time our people frame something is in the context of how white people or the system of white supremacy has things set up. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem to me.
But, or I shouldn't say but, and I feel like the reason that we frame things in the way that we frame things as a people is because we've been indoctrinated into the system all of our lives and from generations and generations and generations. Right. And we've been indoctrinated to frame it in a particular way. We've been indoctrinated to think in a particular way. So it's sort of like, I guess it's a problem. I mean, it is a problem. I shouldn't say, I guess it's a problem. And it's our problem. I was going to say, but it's not our problem, but it is our problem, but it's not our creation. Like it's a reflection of the situation that we have found ourselves in. I don't know if we just found ourselves in the situation that we're in, and in the legacy of, the situation that we've been in. So.
Well, a big part of that to me is, oh, brother, I'm trying to figure out how to put this. Usually, when we're just talking about it, I can just say it. And it's not because of the camera. But part of the problem, as I see it, is just in the framing itself, or not asking the ultimate question, which is, if you want wealth, if you want equality, if you want to be rich, or what, why do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want it? What's your goal? What's the end game? Is the end game to be part of this system, to be part of the United States and have a white picket fence and the flag in the front yard and have the American dream and so on? Is that your goal? Because if that's the goal, then that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times people talk about surface thinking. And a lot of times I don't think that we thought deeply about what we want and why we want it. There's a book, one of my favorite books. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on this channel, and it's been years since I read it, but it was called it is called Creating Money, The Keys to Abundance. And one of the things that was really, really significant to me about that book was this idea of, you want money, you want to be rich. But why do you want money? Why do you want to be rich?
Exactly.
When you have the money, what does it mean to you? And like, when I kind of went through the process for me, I realized it meant freedom. I want, like, money is not what I want. Freedom is what I want. And then money represents to all of us something else, but sort of getting like scratching, going beneath the surface and getting deeper about what is it that you really want? What is it that makes you happy? And I think so often in this society, we're trained to be like, well, that's the most beautiful person in the world to everyone, or everybody would agree, blah, 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 blah. And I'm, more and more, I'm like, no, I don't want that, or I wouldn't agree with that, or that's not. But there's this like groupthink mentality where it's like, you're trained to, hey, Queen, I know who I am. Oh,
and Love Like the Sun came in.
Oh,
she's already been here.
Yeah. But we're there's this idea of like, this is what's normal and this is not normal, and everybody wants to have blonde hair and everybody wants to have a white picket fence, and it's sort of like, I feel like immaturity, or when we learn to think deeper, we figure out what we want, and what I want is going to be different from what you want. And I feel like that's part of the work that we have to do, as individuals, as parents, as community members, as partners, as friends, to dig deep enough and to support one another, and digging deep enough to be true to who we are authentically, to honor who we are authentically, to know who we are authentically, and to live as much as we can a life that reflects us as, the unique individuals that each of us are created to be. So
Peace, Monique Hill.
Hi, Monique Hill.
One of my things with all this chasing of the carrot is that when you're chasing the carrot, you're trying to. I always use a Bentley as an example. I've said it a million times. I need a car, but I don't need a Bentley. I need a house, but I don't need a mansion. I need clothes, but they don't have to have designer labels on them. And I speak constantly about when we went to Costa Rica, and I saw people living very modestly. I mean, when I say very modestly, I'm like totally understating it. And these people, and it wasn't just my imagination.
Water Sniper.
Oh, Peace, Water Sniper. These people, and I'm not exaggerating, and it wasn't my imagination, they just looked like they were at peace. They smiled easy. When you walk past them, they said hello, smile. Didn't have a whole lot of stress lines on their face and all this stress and all, but they were just living very modestly. And when you're put into a system like the one that we live in here, where you're taught to chase that carrot, to get the biggest, the best, this shiny stuff and all this.
Thank you.
Then it leads you to it leads you to do, number one, some of us will do whatever it takes to get it. And the other part of it is that we start to judge each other by that standard. You got a people who created a standard by which we were shut out of it. Okay. And then we're at the bottom of it. And then we start judging each other because we don't have that. Who said that having that is the end all and be all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we were taught that.
Right. We were taught that. And not only, I don't believe that we were shut out of the system. I believe that that system was built on extracting labor and wealth or resources from us.
Right.
And like, I think we started talking about it today, but in my life, I have been up and I have been down. And one of the things that I really, really appreciated about being at my lowest financially, like there were times when I was like, I got $3, I can buy some rice, some beans if I buy them in bulk, because I can't even buy a whole package of rice and beans, and an onion, and that's what I gotta go until I get my next $2 or $3. It's just like I'm just at the dregs of the bottom of the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess one of the things I learned from that is that for the most, like, there were definitely challenges and there were definitely stresses with that, but it wasn't challenging in some of the ways that I thought it would be challenging. I feel like I experienced a lot of peace living like that. And I also started to get increasing clarity about what was actually important to me.
Mm-hmm.
What were the things that, were kind of make and break in terms of my quality of life, in terms of my freedom, in terms of my happiness. And I guess when I was living other ways, I wasn't really as clear about what was important to me. I was more kind of caught up in what was supposed to be important, or what I had been, I don't even know if I want to say trained to believe what was important, but what society said was important.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like getting to the bare bones, I started getting more and more clarity about what's important to me. And a lot of that stuff is, a lot of stuff is not important to me, at all.
Well, if you look at what we're taught from sunrise to sunset, is that it is to get. You just had the Christmas season just passed, and when I was a child, they at least talked about. I'm not a Christian, by the way, but during that season, back when I was a child, they would talk about Christ. They would talk about Christianity, and I watched this slow evolution to where it just became totally about getting.
Mm-hmm.
You watch the news, you watch everything, and they're like, you have however many days left to shop till you drop, da 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 da, and it became that because it's teaching children at this young age that everything is about getting. What am I going to get? What can I get? They call it a season of giving, but it's actually a season of getting.
Mm-hmm.
And the presents are getting like bigger and bigger. They show all these gifts. Somebody comes outside with a bow on a car. Ain't nobody ever gave me a car, a freaking car.
Next year, baby. Next year.
New one. That's all right. I don't need it, but I don't need it. But who gets a freaking car? But even if you do,
somebody probably does.
You know what I mean.
Oh.
And so we're just taught, especially with this being like the age of electronics and all that. You have children getting gifts that years ago you couldn't even give an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Cell phone. Who gets people giving cell phones to 5-year-olds and all this stuff. And this is kind of a side note. I went into Target. This was about a month ago. Went into Target.
So we got the Instant Pot. I finally got an Instant Pot.
Well, let me finish because you gotta get me off my train of thought. I went into Target and went in the toy section, and they had all these Game of Thrones toys for children. Mm-hmm. And the toys are like for children 5 years old and up and so on. And these are toys. And I'm like, what the hell does a child know about Game of Thrones?
I don't know about Game of Thrones. But you told me about that.
Game of Thrones is
violent, rapey.
Right. Violence, rape, sex, swearing, everything, nakedness, everything. And and they how you gonna make a how you making toys for 5-year-olds based on that? Why do they even have that in their consciousness? What would they know about Game of Thrones?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the point I'm working toward is the hypocrisy
Mm-hmm.
of the United States. Everything is like wink, wink, wink with them because the United States is like, well, we're straight laced and we don't want to, we don't want children exposed to this
Family
and that.
values.
Family values, but you're putting this, but you have toys based upon stuff that only adults should have access to. So
and
they're
should
watching.
adults have access to it?
But you know what I'm saying though. So you're saying that they're watching it.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching it. It totally took me a totally different direction, but anyway, the materialism that we're taught from the time that we're born to now is all about keeping us locked in the system, keeping us chasing the carrot.
Mm-hmm. I want to loop back to when you were talking about the children, like, in the season of Christmas or capitalism or whatever you want to call it, with the it's supposed to be all about give, but it's about get. And I just remember over the years, and I haven't celebrated Christmas. I never really truly grew up celebrating Christmas. I was always kind of outside of it. But I remember as an adult being close to people, and there was one season in particular when I was close to a woman who had children, and she didn't have the resources that year to purchase gifts for her children. And just as the season progressed, the amount of stress and distress that she experienced as a result of that. And she was someone, hey, S. Wiseman.
S. Wiseman, so good to see you. I miss you.
Yeah, it was just very kind of sad. And like right before, like on Christmas Eve or whatever, she got money and we went and she got gifts for the children. But it was just like, I mean, and this is someone who loves her children, is a great mother, but like it was just like seeing her distress at not being able to live up to this ideal that's been created by someone outside, by this system outside, that ain't about skit anyway, ain't productive, ain't really for the children, ain't really for the family, ain't really for you. It was just really, it was sad. It kind of made me sad. I just felt bad about the whole thing. It also made me grateful that I wasn't, at that moment caught up in that way. And I guess because I wasn't really I just never really got caught up. So it wasn't like that was anything that I had to untangle or anything that I had to do in order to separate. Or we didn't name this separating from the system, but we named it something else. Like I didn't have to get away from that particular system of capitalism. And at some point growing up, maybe it was like around in college when people were like, oh, holidays are evil, holidays are a construct of the white man to advance, white supremacist ideology or whatever. Or holidays aren't Christian. Christmas isn't Christian. It's about there's a paganist rituals, and Halloween is about this, and Valentine's Day is about that. Or I'm not really sure when I kind of like encountered it, but just I've never really been like just deeply attached to any of the holidays in the society. I did miss celebrating Kwanzaa this year, and I was sad to see, I've been watching from afar the demise. I don't know if it's the demise, but like a downturn in the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit. So, I hear that there was some stuff going on with Kwanzaa there, but I really, I missed having a community Kwanzaa celebration. I never really grew up with a family Kwanzaa celebration, but over the years, I've really come to appreciate Kwanzaa. Hey, I have a piece in Up, the last issue, which is the only issue at the moment, but where I kind of talk a little bit about Kwanzaa. But I've really come to appreciate it and value it through that community celebration over the years. That's like one of the only holidays other than people's birthdays.
You say this, next issue of the magazine's coming out February 1st. Wiseman, a while back, you said you need me to do some design work for you. If you still need it, just type yes in the in the chat, and then I'll contact you through email. So I just thought about that when I saw you, and I apologize that I forgot about it. So
bless
I know
your
I
heart.
need to do some. Yes, you need to do some design work.
Yeah.
So
I was just gonna say, don't put it in the chat, but put it in the comments after. Because can you access
no,
the chat?
all I need for her to say yes.
Is to see yes, and then you'll know.
And then
You'll
I'll
know.
remember I'll email her.
You'll know.
So
yeah.
Anyway.
So I like people's birthdays. Like I feel like, it's your personal new year that I like to celebrate that. But yeah. What I really want to talk about, and I feel like it never really gets discussed to my satisfaction, is the challenges that we experience with separating from the system.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that I watched what's that movie I watched that like I use all the time now, the Matrix. I've watched that, and like a lot of those metaphors I use, like there's this scene where he's in the fluid. The main character, what's his name? Neo is in the fluid, and he disconnects they have like 5 or 6 tubes on their back, and he disconnects them. And I kind of think of that as like a metaphor for separation, like being separated from the system. Like you might have the tube of this connected to you, and the tube of that, and the tube of this, and the tube of that. Happy early birthday, Black Fist. But what I think is interesting is that as soon as you pull a lot of these tubes off of you, it's something else that's attaching to you somewhere else, and so just the process of separating is, I think, very challenging. I think it's challenging to separate when it's like separating from air when you breathe air all day every day. Like how you do that? Who do that? How that happen? How but I think a lot of times, like when I've done like in the work that I've done with people in community organizing and community work, even sometimes I think like I'm not exactly involved with the Christian church, but people will be like, I'm too blessed to be stressed. Like everything is fine and Jesus got me and we just got to get it together. Or I don't know, maybe I'm not doing a good imitation, but this idea that we've got it all together. We've got it all figured out. And but I guess I just really have this like deep hunger to have like that real, what I consider to be like that real, true, honest conversation, or those conversations about the difficulties and the challenges of doing what needs to be done. Like, I know a lot of people who are like, the woman I was talking about, like if you saw her out in public, she'd be like, oh, blackity black, black, black. And I was kind of surprised that she even celebrated Christmas, because I thought that her value system was different from that. So the fact that she was still connected to that, or I know a lot of people who can talk a lot about, I'm a vegetarian or vegetarianism and eating well and but then when you see how they eat, you're like, oh, they're still connected, deeply connected, intimately connected, to the what do they call it? The standard American diet. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. I have absolutely no issues admitting that I don't have it all, everything all figured out. I think one of the most important things for us to know is that there is a problem. Just like they say, you can't address a problem until you know that you have one and admit that you have one. And I'm right now, I guess I'm at that stage where I've acknowledged and realized that there's this problem. And we're connected to this system, and I'm constantly, which you know this, I'm constantly trying to figure out ways to separate from it. And that's more than a notion when you live in the country, and you're trying to separate from it.
And when you live in the world, because I don't think it's limited to this country personally,
right?
And so that's
Wiseman just said that she has a friend who lives in Washington, and they figured out how to live separately.
Oh, see, and that's what I want to, it's sort of like not just the acknowledging, hey, I know it's hard to separate, but like, this is what I've tried and this worked for me, or this is what I tried and this didn't work for me, or just like really having a conversation about, different strategies and techniques, and like what works, what hasn't worked, and everything is not going to be the same for everybody, but just like getting to, to that part of it. And I really don't know how to articulate. Help me to spiritually separate, to discover that we are the people.
Well, one of the things that I'm fairly certain of, though, is that one of the key things to separating from this system is to drop the I don't know how to really phrase it now, but to drop the American idea of what success is, or the idea that we've always been taught success looks like. As far as having this and having that, having this big house, having this nice car, all this different stuff. And that doesn't mean that you have to live like a pauper or a bum. It just means that you jump off the treadmill and stop chasing, because ultimately you die. And where's all that stuff go? Who has it? Yeah, you want to have something for your children, and for them to have their children, or for your grandchildren, so on. But at the same time, it's still ultimately just things that you're not going to take with you.
Right.
And I want peace. I keep telling you, I want peace.
I feel like the legacy that, if I had children and grandchildren, the legacy that I want for my children and grandchildren is the example of living wholesomely and righteously, is, the example of, fighting, the example of honoring and being myself, the example of, honoring other people. It's not a thing. I don't think it's a thing, but, maybe if I had children and grandchildren, I might become materialistically oriented in a way, that I don't understand right now. I like to see just different people saying, economic is the hardest way to separate, is the hardest thing to separate from. I think, there's like a whole conversation going on here that I wanted to acknowledge, but I actually think that it's different things for different people at different times.
Right.
Separating economically can be hard, religiously can be hard, politically can be hard, food wise can be hard.
But let me ask you this question. Okay. And ask you out there too. If someone had $10 million tax-free, $10 million tax-free dollars, and they said you can have this 10 million tax-free dollars, or you can be at peace. You'll be broke, but you will be at peace. You won't be like broke and not at peace. You'll be broke, but you will be at total peace. Or you can have this 10 mil and be frustrated and worried. Which would you take?
Peace. But I don't like all that hypothetical stuff anyway.
I know you don't, but I'm just saying. My point is that what price can you put on peace?
Peace, right? That's what I feel like. Point. That ain't, to me, that's not even like a challenging, like, I don't know. Whoa.
That's the choice that we're making all day, every day, though. You got people going to jobs they hate. You got people dealing with people they hate. You got people dealing with a system they hate. You got people dealing with all this stuff.
But you don't necessarily
they hate.
But you don't necessarily feel assured that, like, I know that if I leave this job, I'm not going to starve. True. And I'm going to be at peace.
True. But my point still remains. People still every day make this decision to chase the carrot. And the trick bag is that we're taught that the carrot is what's going to give us peace, and it's not. That's the trick bag. So once you take your eye off the carrot and then say, you know what, I'm chasing this thing, and I've only ever been told that this will give me peace. But what if I start thinking out the box and go a different way?
I was watching this video on YouTube. It must have been yesterday on Oshun. I I feel like it was like the feminine lessons from Oshun or lessons from Oshun, but you kept saying the carrot, the carrot, the carrot. And one of the points that she made in the video that I thought was really interesting is the carrot and the stick. Like the stick is like, if you don't go to work, you're gonna starve to death and you're gonna be homeless and you ain't gonna have no clothes. You're gonna be naked, hungry, and homeless.
Mhm.
But if you go to work, you could, have you keep saying a Bentley and a big house with a
Right.
white picket fence. And she was saying that, what I recall is that she was kind of talking about Oshun as not there was one story when I think Oshu went into the forest and wouldn't come out, and everybody tried to go to get him to come out of the forest. And I guess they used the carrot and the stick in various ways to try to get him to come out of the forest. You better come out of the forest or I'm gonna beat you, or because he's civilization. So if he ain't come out of the forest, civilization would. But you better come out of the forest or I'm gonna beat you, or come out of the forest and you can get this shiny new carrot. And she was saying that the way that Oshun did it is she just went into the forest and she was herself. She wasn't offering a carrot or a stick. She was just offering herself, being happy and laughing. And she took from her honey pot and put it on his lips. But the honey pot, of course, could represent, the overt sexual reference, but the honey pot representing, her internal happiness, her internal. And so the carrot and the stick both being external. And so therefore, neither one of those being anything that is innately tied to your real happiness. And the honey pot being what's tied to and what is a reflection of your real true happiness.
Mhm.
And so, I guess until yesterday, and that's funny you're talking about it, I always thought, well, the stick was bad, but the carrot is good. And yesterday I was like, oh, I never really thought about the carrot and the stick as some
Mhm.
bull. And, what is it that really internally, drives you? What is it that internally motivates you? What is it that internally excites you? What is it that is a
Mhm.
reflection of you from the inside out, as opposed to something imposed from the outside in?
Well,
So
we're talking about the carrot and the stick first. So what's the difference between being naked and being naked?
you always say this, and I
Right.
don't remember.
When you're naked, you don't have any clothes on.
When you
When
naked,
you're naked, you don't have any clothes.
Oh, you up to something bad.
No, when you're naked, you don't have any clothes on. When you're naked, you don't have any clothes on, and you're up to something.
Oh, you not something bad, just up to something.
Up to something. But anyway, when it comes to the carrot and the stick, and we talk about, I hear a lot of conversations, especially among ADOS. We talk about, or they, because I'm not ADOS. I'm Dwyer, descendant of enslaved Africans in America. But when we get into this discussion about putting political force behind, behind different candidates, or letting candidates and politicians or whoever representatives know that they won't get our support unless they support us, support reparations, so on. That entire thing to me is a fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it on my podcast the other night, because I'll put it like this: we have effectively been zeroed out. When you have a group of people and you're saying, well, we're not going to back this one. We black people are not going to back this one unless they do something for us. Then if all of them have a consensus that they're not going to do anything for us, then where does that leave us? They're basically flatlined us, so as far as we go, and they have zeroed us out.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you're talking about like political solutions and so on, it's the same philosophy as borrowing your way out of debt. Mm-hmm. You're going to go to the people who created the system that oppresses you to tell them not to oppress you anymore. And even by your own standard and by your own admission, and I'm talking about ADOS, even by your own admission, the system runs on our failure. The system runs on our backs. It was built on the backs of our ancestors and continues to run on us. Therefore, I'm going to go to them and tell them to stop, stop the system.
Stop pushing me down.
Yeah, stop the system from working.
Mm-hmm.
Because the assumption is that it's broken. It's not broken. It works the way it's supposed to work.
The system is built on my back, and I'm going to be like, stop pushing me down so that I can stand up and topple your system. And they're going to be like, oh, okay.
Right.
I mean, aside from just like, I guess what you're saying, kind of like the logic of it, it's also kind of like our idea and our sensibility of what's right is right and fairness and righteousness. I think we're confused in that we think that speaking of things in a way about fairness and justice and righteousness is something that they're receptive to, something that, they understand,
right.
something that they care about, something that they value.
Right.
Like, that's just not even who they are. I mean, history there. I mean, it's just like, that's,
right. They're going to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Who you talking to?
Right. Like,
who are you talking to?
When have they ever, is there like a historical precedent for that? And maybe there is, and I'm just missing it.
There's not.
I don't know, because
they don't even do their own right.
Right. They don't even do their own right. We were listening to African Esquire, and she had a man on there. It was really interesting because when I saw him, I'm like, he looks white, that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But
he was white, though.
I don't think he identified as white, but I still don't know really what the definition of white is. So, that's like a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Yeah. But, they didn't get like deep into it, but there was a conversation about in terms of politics and colonialism and Black folks as, and that's one of the things that African Esquire has been talking about, Black folks in this country as internally colonized within the country. And, and the thing about colonialization is that the colonists, or everything is extracted from the colony for the benefit of the homeland. And so when you talk about politics and extracting everything you can from the Black community for the benefit of the party, but the Black community gets nothing, that's exactly like you talk about the 4-year booty call. I mean, it's like there's a constant system, there's constant evidence, ongoing evidence that we're being they won't commit suicide, something to benefit the ones they're living off of.
Right.
And why would they? I mean, the only thing that would make them do it is if they had like some sense of righteousness and justice, because I feel like sometimes we'll do something because it's right, even though it may not be the best thing for us personally, but it's the best thing for the community, the best thing universally. Mm-hmm. But like I feel like the Democratic Party it extracts everything from Black folks and gives nothing to Black folks, never has and never will. Like, that's the nature. It's like this whole enterprise is a colonial enterprise, throughout the world here, historically. I mean, not historically, like all the way back through history, but at least, 400 or 500 years back. Now, before that, I do think we can, but, like increasingly, and maybe it's, risen so that it can fall. Maybe it's not increasing anymore. Maybe it's on the downslide. That's what I like to believe. But, yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, my whole thing is, a person, I'll put it like this: the average white person isn't going to shoot themselves in the foot, especially for my benefit.
Right.
Why? And that's the question that nobody, in my opinion, is answering. Why would they do that?
Right.
Why would they do that?
Right.
Well, we need to go and demand what's ours, and we need to go and take back what's ours. Number one, what's ours?
Mm-hmm.
Look, this is a long scenario, but it's a real one. There's a house down the street. Okay, I go into that house, force the people who were living there into one room, and then decide I don't want to clean it up. And so I go and kidnap somebody from their house and then take them over there and force them to start keeping my house clean, or keep what I consider now to be my house clean. and buying the groceries and taking care of everything, and I'm just sitting on my ass, basically. And then as time goes by and generations go by, the people who I kidnapped to keep my house for me, they're saying, well, you need to stop treating me like a servant here and treat me equally. Number one, why would I do that? I'm on top. I got everything going for me. I got everything in my favor. You're working for me.
Mm-hmm. And then the servant is
why would I do that?
And then the servant is like, and this is my house. And I feel like as a servant, right. I'm like so embarrassed. I know that's what you were getting to.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. Then you have the descendants of the servants saying, well, I want to take back what's mine in this house.
Right. And
it's neither of your house.
Right. And it's like a legacy of just bullshit and just wrongness and incorrectness. And like, yeah, who wants to be associated with that? Who wants that? Now, we've talked about this before, where you've said, what you've come to realize about, some men or whatever is that they don't necessarily want to have, equality with women. They just want to have equality with white men so they can dog out women the way that white men have dogged out women or whatever.
I believe that's true. Not that way. What I believe, I think this is true. I think this is true of pretty much every group, oddly, except Black women, is that everybody is trying to be equal with white people and to hell with everybody else.
Right. And
as long as your boot is off my neck, then I'm fine.
Right.
And that's a sad thing, but I really believe we feel that way as Black men, as white women, and so on. Everybody just wants the boot off their neck. And once that boot is off their neck, everybody else can go to hell.
Right. And I think that the issue is that instead of being focused on that boot on your neck, we have to be focused on what's right, what's correct, and what's just, And so I feel like if hierarchy is incorrect when I'm on the bottom, then hierarchy is incorrect. You know what I mean? Like, right. But I think that we're just like, it's incorrect for you to dog me out. Now you can dog, them immigrants out. You can dog them atheists out. You can dog them gay people out. You can dog them, you can dog them out, but just don't dog. Like, I feel like if it's correct, it's correct. And if it's incorrect, it's incorrect. And we have to, so it's kind of like if America is on some bullshit, some imperialistic colonialism, throughout the world, and it's incorrect, then it's incorrect. It's incorrect when the cops come in and treat us like boo-boo. And it's incorrect when we go throughout the world and come into other people's homes and treat them like boo-boo. It's just incorrect. It's incorrect.
Right. So, I'm going to say this might not be too popular, but it's just the truth. I believe everybody should have the right to be able to walk down the freaking street and not worry about somebody busting them over the head with a pop bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not bothering anybody, then you should be able to walk down the street without worry about somebody attacking you or doing anything. That's just being a freaking human being.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to all this, and this is something that really gets on my nerves, is when I hear somebody saying, basically that as long as I'm treated all right, then I'm cool. I'm cool with them. So in other words, if there's some scumbag child molester someplace, but they never bother one of my children, then they're cool with me.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that crap.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you were saying, if it's wrong, if something's wrong, it's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so, especially as Black men and Black women, we need to try to get this boot off of our neck.
Mm-hmm.
After it's off our neck, then maybe we can attend to somebody else, but then we need the boot off our neck first.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't need to be like the men are like, if the boot's off my neck, then we're good. Or
mm-hmm.
the women be, if the boot's off their neck, then they're good.
Mm-hmm.
No, we all need the boot off our neck
mm-hmm.
as a people.
And I think that the issue is not so much, like, I think the issue is that if you just focus on the boot on your neck, instead, then you're missing. Like, I feel like we have to look at things holistically. We have to look at the fact that this boot is connected to a whole system and a whole person who's standing on us, and deal with that whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, address like the incorrectness of this boot and everything connected to it that's on my neck, and not just be focused on one small aspect of it.
The thing is, how do you address it? Because I'm kind of the mind that the best situation, that's why I keep talking about separation all the time, is the best situation is to just get the heck away from it. You know, you don't, you know, if somebody wants to stay here in it, stay. If you want to deal with it, deal with it. If you want to swirl, swirl. If you want to, I'm getting the heck out of here.
But see, the thing about it to me is that I feel like there are varying degrees of the boot on your neck. But I kind of feel like I feel like it is a worldwide system of white supremacy. That's what I've observed. Now, maybe my consciousness will shift, and as I move around, I'll see things in a different way. But I feel like to date, almost everywhere I've been, it seems like the blacker you are, the lower you are on the hierarchy in the whole world. And so I kind of feel like I think it's kind of like, just like if we were to talk about food, like I think you can look at like, okay, I need to change my diet. I'm going to become a vegetarian. Or I think you could look at, I need to change my diet. I'm going to eat more wholesome foods, and I'm going to eat life affirming foods and life giving foods. And I think that that's actually two different approaches. So I think when we're analyzing things, and when we're looking to separate, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, metaphysically, however, I think our analysis has to be a life-giving, life-affirming, just and right analysis, as opposed to what I like, just saying, I'm going to stop doing this, or no more boot on my neck. I think we have to be like, everybody, let's all stand upright. Like, I don't know exactly how to articulate it, but I think a lot of times our analysis is limited. And so that causes us to focus on just one aspect of the issue instead of understanding the issue holistically.
Well, that gets into semantics, but also here's the thing though. Everything has a starting point. So for some people, it might be, I have to get this boot off my neck. And then in seeking to get the boot off their neck, they realize that's connected to a leg, that's connected to a hip, that's connected to a body, that's connected to a head, that's connected, it has to start someplace.
Yeah.
And for me, again, I take the approach like, as far as the system goes and separation goes, it's like, what's the 100% sure way for a woman not to get pregnant? Don't have sex. Then what's the 100% sure way not to catch an STD? Don't have sex. And so the same thing is like, what's a 100% sure way not to have to deal with this system? Separate from the system. Now, that said, just like you said, it's a worldwide system. So that's a very easy thing to say. But where are you going to go?
But I also think, and we talk about this all the time, that, separation is not simply physical. The most important separation is the mental separation, the spiritual separation, and so I think that, so that is actually a concern of mine, that people think, or that we think, or whoever thinks that, like, if I get out of this country, I'm going to escape this mess. And I feel like the separation and the work is in our, I feel like one of the things that I want to learn to do is to be a nomad, because I feel like as Black folks in this country, as Americans, as Africans in America, we're like a tribe or a group that are nomads. We don't have a home anymore. Like, I don't think that we can, like one of the things when we were, when we did a course about, we were studying Yoruba spirituality and stuff. But anyway, one of the things that I started realizing is that some of the people who had been, at odds in the continent of Africa when we were brought over here. Now, inside of my genetics are people who maybe were at odds in, maybe weren't meant to mix and mingle. Even if you look at black and white people, weren't meant to mix and mingle and be intimate. And now we're intimately, in us. So like there's like an unrest, or perhaps an unrest that's like built into our genetics that wasn't there before. Perhaps before, when people had more control over who they were dealing with, who they were mixing and mingling with, there was more harmony. And so we have like an internal disharmony that I think is combined also with being unsettled, like not just unsettled genetically, but unsettled like physically. Like we can't go to our home and be like, this is our people's home for generations. Or, I'm going to go back to Ghana and this is my homeland. Like maybe we can and maybe we can't. I don't know. But I feel like we're nomadic. We don't really have a place that we can claim. We don't really have a place where we belong. We could, some of us do say, well, I've been, my blood, sweat, and tears is in this continent, in this country. My grandparents' blood, sweat, this is, I claim America. But I kind of feel like personally, like with the whole native thing and the vileness and the violence that was a part of, the foundation of this country, and the, it's like, I just feel like I don't really feel comfortable being associated, in that way. But like, I want to learn to be a nomad, or not be associated with a place and not find my peace from a place, in the same way that, I want to learn to separate here and not find my connections or my validation through anything out here, but find it through, my relationship with, God within.
Well, it's just like you're saying about, people who look at the land, they look at, they say, well, my people died here. They the blood, sweat, and tears built this country, and so on, which is all true, and which we're definitely owed reparations. I mean, I'll never say that we're not. We're definitely owed reparations, but there are many people who say they won't accept blood money. They're like, I want your freaking blood money.
But you're not one of those people.
No, I'm not one of those people. No, I'm one of these people who's like, all things being equal, because how they say killing this, if a person gets the death penalty, they say, well, killing them won't bring your loved one back. Yeah, letting them live isn't going to bring them back either. So all things being equal, they can fry for all I care. Just in a situation. But one of the, there's so many different ways to separate in your head. One of which is just simply saying, our people are beautiful. That wide nose is beautiful. Those big lips are beautiful. That dark skin is beautiful. That's a form of separation, because we're taught the exact opposite from sun up to sundown. And being taught to love ourselves, being black first, believe black first, and blame black last. I'm really working on getting that like way down into my spirit, because I found that, we all reflexively blame black first. And I don't believe in that anymore. I'm like, I blame black last. And I believe black people first. When when I see something on the news and they say some black person did something, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't believe that. You got to prove something real hard to me. Because I believe black people first. If a black man said or a black woman says they didn't do it, then that's what I'm going with.
Right.
Why am I going to believe a cop first?
Right.
Hell out of here.
Right. Yeah. So, all right.
Oh, that's it?
That's it. I've got nothing to say. Probably. I got plenty to say. I just blah, 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 blah.
I know. Again, we just came up here pretty much on the fly, saying what's on our minds. But really, Angela and I are about our people. we love our people. When we started the site, the magazine, everything is because we care about our people,
Mm-hmm.
and everything we do is about doing what's best for our people and trying to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to do something to help, something to make a difference, because we have too many factions against us,
Mm-hmm.
as a people. And so the things that we do are to fight and to help to separate, mentally, and then eventually physically, if that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, politically, like just divest. Don't that the religious people say you can be in something but not of it. Like just like this is not ours.
Right.
This is, yeah. I
Right.
mean, we're here, but yeah, not like that. I'm not invested in it. I'm not buying into it. So yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
Jay Bart? I didn't see.
Hey, J Bart. Yeah, I think that's a new name.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you do your playback, are you able to see what the comments are,
I think
like
so.
fully?
I think so.
Why do you think this thing is doing that on the side?
I don't know. I'll have to check.
Oh,
See why that's doing
all right. How you doing, the people?
that.
What you been up to? What's been going on with you? What's new and good? What's exciting?
Trying to figure out the same thing we try to figure out.
Yeah.
Getting
How to
free,
be
getting free of these
honorable
nuts.
and happy and free, in alignment with God and God's will for your life,
Yeah,
at peace and joy.
that's probably making a sound in
Oh, sorry.
there. That's all right. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think that's it. So you both be happy. See, I wish that wasn't cut off. I wish you could see. You probably can't see it on your screen, but half of the chat is cut, so we can't really see. We really can't see everything.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
So-
half. It just says you being happy is, and then it cuts off.
Then it
And then
cuts
Kendra,
off.
very apt to, because we've already won. We've already
We've
won.
already won.
And then we bet that's Ayapo Yapa, but we don't know what else it says. Because we
Yeah.
can see them. Yeah.
So we're sorry that's cut off. I tried to fix it. I'll have to see what's wrong with that. And I'm not, me personally, I'm not real big on posting stuff to YouTube anyway. I like putting everything up on the Dwyer Media site. Look, if you haven't read the magazine yet, go read the magazine. It's free. Just go to the Dwyer Media site, and I think you'll find it interesting.
And did Black Fist put up a link earlier? I think I saw that.
Yeah, Blackfist put up a link. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
But yeah, please check it out. Everything on that site is for you. And we keep updating it. We update it with the Draped Maniac podcast, and we have like the different channels in UPTV that we're putting stuff up on. I still have to get hold of Psycho so that I can get his content up there. But we really are working to create our own platform, because it's very important that our people, not just us, just all our people, go up in whatever capacity we have in our own lives to take control of our own narratives.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, white people have no business telling us what our narrative is.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones that need to be in charge of our own narrative. Everybody
Fuji
else
Chagalia, defining yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Defining yourself. Who you? What's
Right.
important to you? What's your value? What's your story? Yeah, all of that. You tell your story. We tell our story.
Right.
It's us.
Right.
So
And we're gonna tell it right. When it's us, we're gonna tell it right. because we're the ones who care about ourselves.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna watch a Nollywood movie. That's like neither here nor there, maybe. But I like, and I noticed I was watching them on Netflix. We don't have Netflix at the moment, but I've been watching. I just Googled, or not Googled, but I searched Nollywood movies on YouTube, and I guess I'm thinking about it because of the narrative. I like seeing the black faces. I like the stories are very like relationship oriented. Like it's like it always seemed like it started off with a man and a woman, and it may be that the man get killed. It might be a murder mystery kind of story, or it might be like a metaphysical kind of story, or it might be like a cheating romance story. But it seemed like it's just, I don't know. I've just been.
And while she's watching a Nollywood movie, I'm gonna be watching Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is the bomb. No, it's not a whole lot of black. I think there's only like one or two black folks on that cartoon. Got it going on.
I think that's the weird one where the grandfather is something.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right, Rick Sanchez. I love me some Rick and Morty.
What you gonna say?
Yeah, right. What you gonna say?
That.
What you gonna do?
All right.
All right.
Peace. Did you say what's your opening for your channel? What, you didn't say at the beginning. Yeah, you were supposed to open your channel.
Yeah, it's an acronym,
No. What does it stand for?
If you are pissed off, you are paying attention.
Oh.
So
I don't want to be pissed off. What if I want to be happy?
You can be. I'm happy.
Oh.
Pissed off too.
Pissed off and happy. Okay, as long as you're not pissed on, I guess you can be happy.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you so much for coming. Wait a minute. You got Kendra in there. That is a sweet sister. Kendra and Queen, I know who I am. Thank you for stopping in.
Don't you have something where you can go and see who's in the chat?
I think so, but you know what? It's off to that side where we can't get to it. Jay Bart is in here.
Hey, Jay Bart.
And S. Wiseman, Black Fist came through. He might still be in here. I don't see him.
Thank you, everybody who came who will come in the future. Yeah, but some of the people you can't see, maybe they were here and they're gone.
Yeah, and there's no bar over there.
Nollywood, rich something falls in love with a poor peasant. That's but it's like
that's
such.
Right.
It's but it's different stories. That's not the whole story all the time.
It's the same. It's the same story. It's
no,
just
it's not.
People.
No, it's not. You haven't watched it enough.
Well, shoot, I was watching that Skinny Girl in Transit, and I enjoyed that.
Is that
and
Nollywood?
It fell apart. Well, I don't know.
I don't know either.
It fell apart in the third season. I hate when it falls apart.
In the third act.
No, not the third act.
The third season is kind of like the third
or
act.
The fourth season. It wasn't the fourth or fifth.
It was the fourth or fifth.
Yeah, that just fell to pieces. So anyway, you gotta watch Rick and Morty.
Somebody put hands up.
Yeah.
Like this. I don't know. All right, I'm leaving.
Okay, me too.
You leaving? I'm leaving.
Yeah, they can stay.
Y'all can stay. We out. No, we gotta. Yeah. All right. Peace. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be blessed. Be a blessing. You are blessed. You are a blessing. All right, I'm about to end the stream. Are you gonna look in the camera as the stream? You gonna smile?
I'm smiling now.
Oh, I was looking into teaching English. I was looking into teaching English. What do you think about that? It's very exciting. Anyway, peace.
They'd have to get